notices that were given, but it was not anything that we had become aware of. It was part of that, I'm calling it a mass annexation. That may not be the right term for it, but whenever that was done down 231 to provide for the development in the community.
Yes. Speaking as to what she was just talking about, we have done the research that the ordinance that allowed properties to come in to the city of Wetumpka was passed by the city council of the city of Wetumpka that said that it's very important to the development and the growth of the city of Wetumpka to allow any property owner along 231 that wants to come into the city to come into the city. And Mr. Thomas Perryman, my client, wanting to come into the city and always wanting to utilize his property as B2, just like the property next to him. If you look and research, as Stacy has with the building department of the city, we have looked all along 231, and every one of those properties that came in have gone B2. And for these individuals who have not had an ordinance passed that what their subdivision wants to do out in the county, they're not at all part of the city of Wetumpka. Legally, the city council has no legal duty to people out in the county, and you do have a legal duty to be consistent in your actions. Your ordinances have already been passed years ago. It goes back about 10 years ago when all the other properties came in. And Mr. Perryman and I want to know why his property would be treated any differently from these other properties that are already B2 along 231. And the parcel of property where the crater is located, the Crater Science Center, that's going to be such an inspiration for scientific development for young kids here in the city, and it's going to be a tourist attraction for citizens all over the state, because Wetumpka is unique, having had the marine impact crater. It's really unique in the whole world, and that is going to increase the traffic. Having been an attorney for the Department of Transportation, or the Highway Department as it's called slangily, but it's the Alabama Department of Transportation, for a number of years, I know that there will be a study and that you can get a turn lane. I know that any property along 231 that would like to have access, just like the ballpark up here, can get it where you can have access. We're asking for consistency. You are on the record as the city council of Wetumpka. And I know a lot of you are not the same people, but I ask you, is it not even more important now than it was 10 years ago for the city of Wetumpka to have this property be allowed to be B2? And that's what you did with the other property owners. You allowed them to come in and B2 if they so chose. Mr. Thomas Perryman has done that out of good faith, wants to be part of the city, is a good citizen. I don't think any of these people here today, they're all out in the county residents, would say that he is a bad neighbor. And we ask that you do the right thing here today and allow his property to be zoned B2. Thank you.
If I could just address one of those issues very quickly.
You only get 3 shots.
I understand. We have many others that are here. The biggest concern, in my personal opinion, is Mr. Perryman has indicated he intends to continue to use the property for rental property. He doesn't intend to turn it into a business. He doesn't intend to sell it. So the question becomes, in my mind, then let's leave it residential if that's the intention that's there, particularly since it's part of the neighborhood development in our community. If and when he intends to develop it, to sell it, to have a business develop there, then let's discuss that, and let's discuss that potential. But in the meantime, if it's to remain residential property with people who rent the property, as it's been, and we have no objection to that, we're not disputing that at all, then we can address it if, in fact, there is a plan to develop it sometime in the future.
Problem solved. Yep. And you're saying,
Because you are not.
Mr. Perry.
dictating me
Mr. Perry.
what I do with my board.
Mr. Perry, wait just one second. So what you're saying, if you knew what it was being developed for, that you might be able to come into agreement that it would be okay in the neighborhood.
No,
We
that's
know
not
what we're
what
up
we're saying.
against, at least.
We're just flatly objecting to it being zoned for business. It's a residential neighborhood.
Okay.
It's absolutely true what she said. The council did adopt the rules for annexation, but that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the council has the authority, the discretion to make a zoning decision. And when you do that, you're not necessarily being arbitrary or capricious in doing so. You're not discriminating against Mr. Perry.
Well, none of us were here 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
When that took place, you may have been.
I was gonna say.
But another question was raised, and I don't know where this would go. He mentioned how could he de-annex his property? And if he de-annexed his property, then he would have a piece of property sitting there that would be in the county, outside of the city, that he could build whatever he wanted to build on that piece of property. There would be no building codes, nothing that he would have to build to. He could build anything he wanted to build. I don't know if the county has setbacks as far as property lines. I don't think they have any. So he could build probably as close to the property line as he wanted to build. The only difference would be, if he did that, if it were a business, he would not pay 3 cents on the dollar to the city of Wetumpka, nor would he be able to tap onto the sewage. It would have to operate on a septic tank. And there are businesses down there that have operated on septic tanks. So that's something else to think about, that if he chooses to de-annex, then he could go build whatever he wanted to.
Then it becomes a matter of civil litigation as regard to a nuisance perhaps.
As a nuisance.
Perhaps, depending on what he builds it. If it's in a residential neighborhood or a step over here lives right behind it.
I don't know about that. That was just what I,
Well, I'm just saying there are other alternatives besides that if he decides to stay in the county. We're in the county also, but I think the council has an obligation to consider the contiguous properties around the city. We come into this city, we spend money here, we have a lot of family, we have friends and neighbors. Everybody comes into this city. And that is a major consideration I think the council needs to look at, as opposed to one person's desire to have business.
okay. We're going to hear one more. Gentleman in the door.
Yes, sir. Name's Hal Brindle. I'm also from Canyon Road, 970. Couple of issues. Interesting to me. He wanted to be in the city. Now he doesn't want to be in the city if he doesn't get his way. It doesn't sound like he really wants it his way or no way. So I have problems with that. If he wants to be in the city, that's fine. And if you choose to do the zoning law, we do have injunctive relief, which we do plan to exercise our right on the next step. He's legally, as of 3 months ago, he's a 3-month member of the city. Now, what I understand 10 years ago, with speaking with the previous mayor, Ms. Glenn, when she came through there to annex all the way down to get Oxyoke and all those places there, wisely so, I might add, I'm sure they've helped the bottom line a bunch. Everyone was given a one-time shot to take their efforts to be in or be out. Now, again, like Gail, we didn't know or have much notice, not that it was not our fault, about the property on the other side that did become part of the city at that time. But in theory, Mr. Perryman had that same opportunity, which either he was like us and didn't know that he had a chance to get in when Ms. Glenn brought it down.
Did you own it 10 years ago?
No,
Okay, we point on that part then, and I stand corrected. I didn't know who had the land. And the other issue that I think you're both concerned about is the sewage. From what I understand, right there at that area, the sewage stopped, and it's actually on the other side of the